this session. Of course, we are going to keep it very short. We cannot drag it beyond 30 minutes. So we'll keep it 30 minutes. So everybody will get a chance to speak in this 30 minutes. First 10 minutes, everybody has to put his stance. We are 6 people. I am also there. I will interject. Everybody in next 10 minutes will be putting their stance, where they stand in energy transition, specifically in the sector of energy, and what is their mandate here. After the first, everybody has spoken, then anybody can start picking up the previous discussion point of view and put his clarification, his modification, his further moot point, so the other person will be able to respond to it. Let's maintain the professionalism here. So at one point in time, one person should be speaking. If somebody wants to speak, either he can raise his virtual hand or physical hand if you are putting the camera in, and then you can interject. Yeah, interjection is allowed, but after I see your hand, I will give you a prompt and you can unmute yourself and speak. Let's maintain the professionalism. We are not in our Arnav Gosavi show. We'll be in a gentleman's show. And we want to hear everybody's point. So you can speak your heart out, whatever way you think about your subject very clearly. Now, the topic is this. Currently, energy sector is that sector which is emitting largest amount of greenhouse gases. In greenhouse gases, it scores even beyond transportation. But at the same time, energy sector is the backbone of any country. And taking that backbone to the next phase in sustainability requires transition. So the policymaker, which I believe currently Rajni ji and who is the next person in policy?
Mahima.
Mahima. So these two people will be speaking about that. We have environmental activist, which is Tanmay. Tanmay, can you unmute yourself and say hi?
Hi, sir.
Yes, because I was worried about your throat, so I believe it is clear. And then with you, anybody has joined?
No, sir. I am there.
Okay, Subodh ji is there. Okay, and then we have energy company employee or executive, could be CEO, CFO, any position he is carrying, and he is Ravi Indran ji. So now I will start with Ravi Indran ji. You can go ahead and put your moot point as a energy executive. What you see in next 5 years? What is your point of view, and where you are taking sustainability and how into your consideration?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So I am a company from a thermal fired energy company. So I just brief about our company. It is installed capacity of 50 gigawatt company, and our main feedstock is coal-based, and we have plants across India. And we have taken a decision and vision, not a decision, it's a vision to move our dependency on fossil fuels and reduce as much as possible in a span of next 20 years, and look at how we reduce the dependency on the fossil fuel and transition to non-fossil fuels. So we have set the 5 phases to move in this journey. The number one journey, we thought look at operational efficiency, then fuel substitution. Fuel substitution, as we mentioned, instead of fossil fuels like coal, to look at other alternatives, and then phase of renewable energy investment and its integration, then carbon capture, and followed by some carbon offset mechanism. So these are the broad, uh, milestones, as you say, or stages we want to reach there. So initially, how we are starting is we have set 2025 is our base year, and we are starting an audit process to understand what are our hotspots. Like we are conducting a complete carbon accounting process. We made a internal team, the carbon accounting transition team, as well as we tied up with external agency to get a help on this. And we have started the complete accounting system so that we understand where are the greater impacts are there. That was the number one. And the second is we are working on the operational efficiency. We are understanding the complete efficiency, understanding where our efficiencies are less or losing. And from that, we want to invest some capex, like uh, especially in our industry, the losses with respect to heat exchangers, ventilation, cooling, water consumption. There are many areas we use a lot of equipment. So we are taking the complete stock of these equipments and machineries where we need to change them and retrofit them. Then we are working with a fuel substitution. The fuel substitution for carbon dioxide we identified as initially with biomass and natural gas. So we are tying up with the Gas Authority of India to provide natural gases, and tied up with biomass pellet manufacturers. So the next phase is the renewable energy. So initially we started installing PV cells in our own site, and we also identified areas to install PV cells. Also, we have identified place to install windmills and hydroelectricity. Also, we are working towards that. So that was the renewable energy thing. So then the next step is some innovations and areas what we want to work is we are deploying artificial intelligence based monitoring system so that we understand the real time activities and where we can control or where we can contribute. Then further, we have tying up with some European company for carbon capture usage technology, and we have assigned a capex of 5 crores towards this, and working on the pilot project. Then our next, this is the energy production is the biggest area we are focusing. Then followed by we will look at on transmission side and the distribution side. So this is the complete scenario of our company.
Okay. Before we move further, just state your position on current India plan of 2070 and where your plans, which you have just suggested, different plans, stands and how you are trying to match that India transition plan.
Yeah. One of the India transition plan is to move to the renewable energy, which is the one of the major objective of government of India. So in the renewable energy, we have already installed on-site PV cells, and we identified the major places like Rajasthan, some parts of Karnataka, and some parts of Tamil Nadu to install the solar power. And we tied up with the coastal areas in Gujarat as well as in Tamil Nadu for setting up the windmills. So our plan is to initial phase of investing to an extent to integrate around 5 gigawatt of renewable energy. And with respect to transmission and distribution loss, which is also mandated by Government of India to improve the last mile efficiency, we are investing in technology like DLR or better installation of transmission equipments, substation monitoring, etc.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much there. Let me go to now environmental, rather than going to environmental activist, I should direct my question towards policymakers. What is their stance? And now considering the plans which you have heard from this company, what do you think that shift to renewable energy of 2030, which you set, they will be able to maintain it, manage it, achieve it? And if not, where are the challenges you see in this company operations? Rajni ji first.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Well, I've been told to speak on what are the policy supportives to support the various energy companies in meeting the targets, which has been set by none other than our Honorable Prime Minister during the Glasgow COP, that is COP26. Needless to repeat it, it is that we had set a target of 500 gigawatt of the non-fossil fuel electricity generation by 2030. And 50% of the total energy requirement has to come from the sources of a 2030. There has to be reduction of certain carbon emissions by 1 billion tons by 2030, and the carbon intensity of the economy has to reduce by 45% as compared to the 2005 levels. These targets don't look very ambitious, and the government has been very supportive. We have to first understand that these targets has been set in the light of certain things. Energy companies are doing their job, whether they'll be able to complete or not, but one has to understand that India is the third largest emitter of the greenhouse gas after China and USA. And don't be very happy when we say that India's per capita emissions are still much lower than the global average. Don't be very happy with that. You are still emitting, you are still the 1/3. And there is a gross need of a large-scale decarbonization, which is debatable here. Not only that decarbonization, and the demand of electricity is rising, and industry alone is accounting for 41% of the electricity use. So industry will have to focus on this emission and work on this sincerely. To support, then Government of India has come up with many initiatives which one has to follow and understand, and don't be in the debacle that who will do the first. Do your bit and then move on. Well, I'm very happy to announce as a government initiative, the target which was set by Government of India, none other than our Honorable Prime Minister, we have already achieved 198 gigawatt through through solar, wind and hydropowers. There has been a price fall, but don't be carried away the political freebies of the Delhi. It is the industrial uptake rise has also gone up. Private capital has also been mobilized. And in fact, the renewable energy has seen a significant growth of a CAGR of the 8.6%, which means government is supporting them and industry is going in the right direction, and these targets will be achievable. The challenge they have, because it has to be understood, the challenges have to be understood in a very, very realistic manner. One has to appreciate that energy sector alone is contributing near 40% in the total gas emission. Then why the transition can't be done in one go? If you are transiting from fossil fuel in one go, you will have a massive job transition. So Government of India could not undertake this immediately and could not issue a policy because of that. So industries have to live with it and go in a very planned and a transition manner, so that there are no loss of jobs and there are no power shortages during the switch. And you have to also attract at the same time the clean energy investment for your company, so that the work doesn't stop, and the security and the technology transfer has to be done in a very secured manner. Transition is it has to be a seamless kind of a thing. To support you, all industries, India is not lying standstill. We have been working very, very hard, and we have come up with the National Electricity Plan, where we have set a target of a 500 gigawatt from the non-fossil fuel capacity, which will be set up by 2030. As I mentioned just now, that 198 gigawatt has already been achieved till 2040. in 2024. And India is also aiming to peak. In that plan, the India aims to peak that before 2030. The coal will be peaking by that, and gradually it will decline. So one has to work accordingly, and the policy will be supporting them. Then the government of India has also come up with the PLI schemes through various initiatives. Like a domestic solar PV manufacturing plan has also come, where a budgetary support of a 19,500 crore was allocated, which is not a less amount. And India, to support the Make in India initiative, we have also provided you rather reduce your dependence on that imports, which we were earlier being done by the China. Solar cost has dropped up by from rupees 6 to 7 per kilowatt hours to rupees 2.5 and 3. You might be aware of the one Yojana, Muft Bijli Yojana of PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana. There is a National Solar Mission. There are PLI schemes for you. And there is access to the cheaper capital also, for which we have already given indications. Government of India has also come up with the green hydrogen mission, and investment is there. India is aiming to become a global hub to produce a green hydrogen, and not only that, to export it also. Initially, it has been decided that we will be setting up 5 million metric tons of a green hydrogen production capacity by the year 2030. And this would also be creating a lot of jobs, like 6 lakh jobs, and will be attracting a good number of investment to the tune of 8 lakh crores. Most important of all is Energy Conservation Act, which has come up, where the carbon trading market has been introduced, which mandates the energy saving in the industries. So the legal groundwork for the decarbonization and its accountability is ready. This is for you to encash. If any doubts are there why the things have not happened or why the things are not happening, then a question may be asked. But the key provisions of the amendment bill includes the carbon credit trading scheme. It is expanding the energy efficiency norms to the buildings, vehicles, and the vessels as well. We have also strengthened the Bureau of Energy Efficiency Council. And for those who are not able to comply it, if you are not able to achieve it, there are penalties for you as well. So be ready with that, the carrot and the stick policy, Government of India, as it follows. We have also urged to the state governments, like many of the state governments had shown a good governance, like Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, Maharashtra. They are aggressively pushing the entire project and providing the open access to the metric forms. There are gaps. I admit that there are gaps, which I'll be discussing in the discussions. For that, I leave it to the House to explain what are the gaps they are finding, so that I can handle them as a policy maker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rajni ji. Good explanation to all the initiative which you have put forward, and I hope the industry person has noted. I don't know why he has not considered it. That is up to him to respond in the next round. But I have one question before we go to next participant. That what are you thinking, and what kind of regulation Government of India as a policy maker is going to push toward just transition? So what's the take on that just transition part?
Just transition is a process where you would be, if you are making an immediate transition, then you would be doing many changes in the system. And system should be geared up for handling that. That is why I think the long targets which have been set by the India has been set looking into that. The special just transition target for different industries are going to be different, but if there are any policies for that.
No, just to clarify my question, I am asking about job losses in fossil fuel sector. As you heard from Ravindran ji from the energy company, saying that he has planned for shifting to renewable energy, wind, solar, as well as hydrogen. Now, if that happens, what about the job losses of fossil fuel and what action?
No, they can't do that. There are guidelines when the transition is happening, so that one has to see that the people are get absorbed. Otherwise, the union activities will not let them work and let them grow. So this kind of arrangement has to be done by the energy companies to make provisions, and that is why the special jobs are getting created in the other sector. As I mentioned just now, that when this new hydrogen, green hydrogen things will be coming, it is generating new jobs. The people dropped and experience from that job will be absorbed in the other jobs. So this is going to be one giving, one taking, and people have to gradually upgrade their skill for learning the new technology. Also, the National Skill Development Corporation has also come up with many initiatives where the trainings can be imparted, and the companies have been directed to impart such trainings to them, so that there's the fear of losing the job is not there, and the plans are getting implemented in a effective manner.
Okay, good. Thank you. Now I will go to first activist, and then I'm coming back to the policymaker because we had two policymaker and two activists. First activist, Subodh ji. So Subodh ji, after listening from the company executive in the energy sector who has chalked out his plans, and also listening from the policymaker who has highlighted under Honorable Prime Minister initiatives how she is pushing and encouraging energy transition smoothly, even considering the just transition, which she will be explaining in the question answer session, that how she is going to put a mechanism and what kind of mechanism will be ideal for the sector. I want to understand from you, being an environmental activist, are you not concerned about these long-term plans of 2070? Even though people are committing 2030, do you think India is going to achieve it? As a environmental activist who are always in hurry and who wants to see some work on ground. So what's your observation in the case of energy transition in India, and how you take it forward and how you want to put your proposition in front of both of them? Subodh ji, this is for you, or I will pass it to Tanmay if you are unable to unmute.
Sorry, sir. I
Yeah.
have two objections to this policy
Okay.
because government has made policy, but if you go to the power sector, 75 to 78% of the energy or power is manufactured in India today by the thermal power station. Out of that 75%, 70% is from the coal-fired boiler. As coal is used as a fossil fuel in generating the power. So there is no immediate plan to replace this coal-fired boiler with something else. Contrary to this, by 2031-32, 80 gigawatt power will be units will be added in thermal power, and majority of them will be in the coal sector. And NTPC itself is going to put up those plants. So there is no short-term solution or medium-term solution. So 2030 is out of question. By this, new plants will be commissioned by 2031-32 as per plan. And as you know, the plants are always delayed by 1 or 2 years. So we will have more coal power production by 33-34. Second point, the power which is produced by solar or windmills, they are intermittent. They are not having continuous supply. As you know, the day and morning and evening temperatures for solar power generation, day and night condition, monsoon and winter condition. So this, even though we are putting up a big solar power capacity or wind power capacity, they will not be having a continuous flow of power supply. So up to 2050, I believe we will be totally relying on thermal power plants unless bigger nuclear plants comes up in India. So our total dependency will be on thermal power plant, which will continue. So not only coal, whatever gas we use, or this natural gas, naphtha and lignite are other other fuels which we are using. So there is hardly any major difference between the emission of GHG in this. If you go, that is from 125 to 80. So lowest is 80 in natural gas and 125 or 130 is for the coal. So there is not much difference in GHG emissions and SO2 emissions from this power plant. So I don't think there will be any anything which India will get in this by putting up with the solar or this, because our energy requirement is growing up and up daily, and all those increased requirement will be only fulfilled by this wind power or solar power. So thermal power will continue will be their majority. Instead of 75%, 80%, it will go to 40-45%. And out of that, 70-80% coal will continue till 2035. That is my take up.
Before we go to the next participant, Mahima, on policy side, I want to ask you a question. How do you see? Of course, you have a point of view that it's not viable proposition to achieve in 2030. But what do you see about as a environmental justice and sustainability activist, the national target alignment and the energy company plans? Are they cost effective? Are they, going to meet all the
Yes, sir.
compliances? And what about the carbon?
See, there is one survey conducted by Indo-German Electrical Company in 2020 and by IIT Calcutta, Chemical Engineering Department. And they have given a lot of recommendation to reduce the GHG emissions, curtail SO2 also, because that technology, what for SO2 is coming from outside is very costly. So they have got the technology that pilot plants trials already succeeded, and now they have to put off. So it is much cheaper compared to, which is spending crores of rupees if you purchase that unit from outside, desulfurization and all those. While the Indian unit will, for small power sector less than 200 megawatt, it will cost only 50 lakhs compared to that crores of rupees.
Okay.
So it is possible, only the implementation has to be taken up on priority. So those plans are already in effect. Lot of that committee has given, there is a 50-60 page report on that by IIT Calcutta and joint Indo-German Energy Commission. That report is already there. I have gone into detail. They have 14 recommendations, and if you implement that, the existing GHG emission or CO2 emission and SOx emission from the power plant will reduce considerably, and that is economical compared to the import of those units.
Okay.
So there is a way forward available, and if somebody should seriously implement that. Second point, contrary to this, whatever this, they have put a norms, and that implementation date is over, and again government has extended that date by 3 years more.
Okay.
Because energy sector is very critical to the growth of the nation. So that's why government has postponed those implementation by 3 more years.
Okay.
And second point is, out of this power plant, if you see, more than I think 60% power is from in the government sector only. This thermal power plant owned by government only.
Okay. Rajni ji, you can't counteract right now. You can come in the next round. Let me go to Mahima. Mahima, as a policy maker, of course, a lot of pointers Rajni ji has covered, but listening to environmental activist concern and the concern which I have raised to even Rajni ji, what's your take on the same, on just transition, policy not being so effective that there might be a chances of overrun, etc.
Yeah. Hi. I believe policies should be economic resilience and long-term environmental goals. So as a policy maker, I'll firstly focus on, as Subodh sir said, ki there is no the system for energy saving. So I'll focus on battery storage system, which can be, store the solar power to intermittent renewables, firstly. And secondly, I'll be focusing on the subsidiaries. For example, the NTPC Green Energy Limited. So, and also I'll focus on to create independent bodies, like for example in Denmark's Climate Council, to monitor the progress. And I'll focus on transition from income tax to CO2 based energy tax. And I'll of course focus on educating employees, and giving trainees, as Rajni ma'am said. And spreading awareness and managing the campaigns. And I'll focus on the real-time performance tracking system, to track the energy. And I'll more focus on EV charging points. And I'll try to make policies to explore green hydrogen and ammonia exports. So I believe alignment with the government scheme is important in this case. And
Government, yeah. So you are saying
yeah.
it should align with your idea. Okay, I have a question before I let you go. That you mentioned in the beginning of your stance that you will look into climate resilience. What is that exactly as a policymaker you are looking at climate resilience?
It's economic. I said it's economic resilience.
That's economic resilience. Okay. So what's that consideration, you are looking into? What are the proposition you are making there as a policymaker?
So it's like the capacity to withstand and recover from crisis, and
Specifically on the
improving
economic
economic
ground.
performance. Yeah.
Specifically on the economic performance of these initiatives which people are taking. Good. Very
Yes.
good. So that's the first. Oh, okay, we have one more environmental activist. He wants to put point in. So let me go to Tanmay. Tanmay, of course, you put your stance, and you have heard your another member who has also presented a case that looks like government targets and the industry progress is not going to achieve the targets which government of India and our Prime Minister in COP26 has committed it. So what's your concerns as environmental activists are, and where you see our energy transition system going forward?
Good evening, everybody. Actually, just for the addition, the Subodh said, we know that we are in the thermal power sector, the coal-based thermal power sector. There will be a lot of sulfur dioxide generation, and we are the biggest emitter of the sulfur dioxide generated. So based on that thing, we add some facility or system so we can manage the sulfur dioxide emission and reduce the sulfur dioxide emission, which is we can manage also the greenhouse gas emission. So we put some FGD system, which is good for protect our environment and the greenhouse gas emission also. And for that thing, we need to improve or system improve in our coal-based thermal power plant. And another thing that is, if you think that in the 2024, there is that already Subodh sir told that 3 hours extension is there, and after the 3 hours extension, we are on now 8% FGD in system is installed in the power plant sector. So we have to increase that FGD installation in the thermal power plant so that we can manage little bit. But in this sector, that is if you 1 mole of sulfur dioxide is generated, that is means 1 mole of per mole of carbon dioxide also generated. Means it is like absorption and the generation. Like if you absorb that 1 mole of sulfur dioxide, and then 1 mole of carbon dioxide is generated. So we have to consider also that carbon dioxide generation also there. So how to manage that thing to for that purpose, we little bit concerned about that. So the system is to be like technological purpose or the monitoring, that AI-based monitoring should be installed in our thermal-based power plant. That is my observation of that as a activist, environmental activist. So that is my point.
Yeah, before we go to one raise which was hand first was Rajni I have a question for you, Tanmay. You have raised very rightly so SOx and NOx emissions, specifically in sustainable material, also contributes to some kind of greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah, it's not part of greenhouse gas emissions. What's your take on you know the energy companies which are implementing controlling the SOx and NOx? Why they are not doing coherently and cohesively with the greenhouse gas reduction program rather than just completely transiting themselves, from being a fossil fuel operator to renewable operator. Because just transition, I'm just talking in sense of just transition require you go little slow. And that is why I'm asking as an environmental activist, where you see energy companies missing this agenda.
Actually, energy companies, they are not following the environmental norms. They are only following their production or their production only. So we have to continuously monitoring as per our Environmental Protection Act. That is there, that PM and the sulfur dioxide generation and the NOx, all the things that is the range as per the MOFCC guideline, as per our environmental protection guideline, whatever. You have to maintain all the range, and we focus on the AI-based monitoring system. So it will be make sense to develop our system generation or the production efficiency, so that that environmental is not affected that much level. So we have to consider also that. That is
Okay. Okay. Good. So let me go straight away. Now floor is open, anybody can speak. Just make sure that you are singularly speaking. So Rajni first and then Subodh go ahead.
Three things. One is that Tanmay asked about the desulfurization. Let me make it very clear that the policy initiatives are there since 2015. All thermal power plants are mandated to install the fluid gas desulfurization system to control the SO2 emissions. Few plants have failed, so it is more of the implementation by the plants rather than the policy regulations. Now I'm coming to Mr. Subodh's question, who has rightly placed that कि आपका नेशनल जो अमेंडमेंट बिल है उसमें आपने थर्मल पावर प्लांट को तो इग्नोर ही कर दिया. Yes, he is right in saying so. But you tell me, we have a dependency. I would like to ask my friend that his viewpoint may be right, but as a policy maker, you just don't design a thing which can cause disturbance at the one end. A policy maker has to see the economic stability, and at the same time, the environment has to be protected as well. So our India is a growing economy, and we are supporting millions of the livelihoods. So by the abrupt exclusion of a thermal power plant without a realistic backup would have destabilized the grid. So that is why the just transition has been planned, which will take it some more time, and it will not harm industry. Rather, it will grow with the industries and will create a otherwise it would have created a social unrest. Phased inclusion of the power sector, working with the coal has been planned in the carbon market. And even now, I would say it is not easy to avoid it. As a government of India, we are pushing that accountability through MRV, and some incentives are also being placed so that there is a faster adoption of the hybrid solution and the green hydrogen, like you can say the infrastructure for the land constraints, the hurdles are getting looked into. The second question of Mr. Subodh was that you have you've given all the solar power, but you don't have a backup kind of a thing. So yes, he is in very rightly, as an environmentalist, he has rightly point out that आपने सोलर पैनल को तो इंसेंटिवाइज कर दिया, but not the batteries. and you have there are breakups at the switch level, and things are not reliable at the time. You have a breakups also, you have breakdowns also. So I do admit that some serious support is required here. This sector has to be looked into, and we need to work on the hybrid models so that the fragile renewable system that we are at risk should not be made, and India is able to serve 24/7 power demand. So this is from my side answering both the questions. And I would also say that the power companies will have to avoid the delay, and they should comply the PAT schemes. They have a better data reporting. There shall not be any time lag in the assessment cycles the way it was done earlier. That is why that in the power sector, MRV is very, very important. And this is part of the India's energy policy. Any delay in the compliance assessment is going to impact the PAT cycle. So one has to see that it has to be timely, data has to be submitted time so that the correct decisions are taken and that timely third-party audits are done, and there is a strict enforcement so that India has a credible carbon market under the CCTS, which the government of India has envisaged.
Sir, you are on mute.
Yeah. So, Subodhji, you can straight away go ahead with your pointers.
So
But
Rajnish has told that a policy is on the place since 2015, but after that policy is failed, out of 480 units, thermal power units, 318 has been given notices, and they have not replied till date on the violation of pollution norms. So 380 notices are still there, and as I told earlier also, government has to only implement that, because both the sides there is a government. The policy maker is also government, implementer is also government, because 70 to 80% of unit belongs to the government of India or the state governments.
Subodhji, at the same time, I have also said that this is the issue of implementation. You know,
Yeah. So I told you,
why
and those
पैट में कोई ऐसी प्रॉब्लम नहीं थी, प्रॉब्लम थी उनके मॉनिटरिंग में और उसमें. So that was the issue. नियत नहीं थी, पॉलिसी है. So उसको implement करने, government has to be more aggressive in getting that implemented.
Yes, that's what I'm telling. Because there is no question of
government would
there
have.
is no question of finance, because government has a lot of money to spend on a lot of the things which is there. We should not put on record, otherwise I can say. So this should be given more priority, because it is a very alarming, because the coal may, it is not only the emission from the power plant, it is from the mines itself. This environment issue starts from mining itself, and there is not issue at the consumption level.
Of course, we are not.
Secondly, what we have, not only we are going for the cleaner fuel, the power plants which are based on natural gas or CNG or this, they are also closed whenever the gas price fluctuations are there. So it is not a question of capital investment. Those power plants which are there, Dabhol Power, and there is a one NTPC power plant in Hajira, those are intermittently stopped when the gas shortage is there or gas price goes up, or the gas demand inside the country other than power sector increases. So those plants are stopped intermittently. Actually, I am telling you the factual figure because my real cousin, was working in NTPC, and he was on the energy. He was GM energy saving for all the plants in India in NTPC. He just retired.
Sir, you will appreciate that these new gas desulfurization systems were to control the sulfur dioxide emissions were ordered in 2015, and the deadline was 2017. Plants have failed. That is also a government. That there's a failure in the implementation. There was no shortage of the funds, as you also said. You also agreed. But there had been some perhaps there have been some technical challenges or the
yes.
So
those orders were cancelled later on.
Maybe the government of India needs to look into this. And then I think the plants were identified into various categories after that. And now in the category B plant, for that the target has been shifted to 2028. The government of India is equally strict. For category A plant, which are in the 10-kilometer area of the NCR, the target is 2027. The category B के लिए 2028 है, इसलिए category C के लिए it is 2029. So the government of India is aware of it, and the targets have been reset, and for the policy uncertainty is being taken care of.
Okay. So now most of the question is pointed towards our gentleman from energy company, which can be a part of government India. By the way, it's a moot court. It has nothing to do with the actual policy which government of India is following. It's a parallel discussion which we are trying to do at our own level, based on the limited information everybody has. Now, coming back to Mr. Ravindran, three questions has been raised to you. First of all, your plans looks very ambitious. Looks like you won't be able to achieve. So you have to put your point firmly that what makes you think that you will be able to achieve. Second, that people are doubting your feasibility as well. Yeah. The stage you are in currently, or India is in overall currently, your plans looks like not matching with that. And third, there is a expectations from policymaker and environmentalists that you will be following compliance, and at the same time you remain cognizant of the fact that your transition might impact a larger community, which is a responsibility of yours and government too, to engage for long term. What's your point of view on all these three?
Yes, our plans are ambitious, and we are a small company. We have a better control over actions. So that is first answer to how we will make it. Yes, it is ambitious. Number two, with respect to when we transition happens from the current situation to the new situation. So we are equally training manpower for the new demands of the things. Like for example, within our plant itself, we are bringing awareness and education for what is to be requirement of skills with respect to the new transition. Secondly, we need little, we have also tied up with a lot of research institutes, and we are taking not just the technology what is available globally. So we are a lot of things we are indigenizing, like for example, the monitoring system where we get a real-time monitoring losses. So first, that's why I said our first phase of activity is on operational efficiency. So in that, we are tying up with many Indian companies to help us to provide a technology to monitor it. As we are focusing on indigenization, so our capex requirement is less, so we will be able to do it. And we need one more thing, that whatever efforts we are doing, which is easily available, like for example, PV, which is because of the various schemes, the cost of PV has reduced. But where we are finding challenges, especially the green hydrogens area, where the pyrolysis plants are very, very expensive. So the government has to, help industries to set up this as a joint venture or whatever way, and provide a capex for this. Secondly, to set up an enormous infrastructure in the battery storage, again, we need a lot of capex. So the government has to fund us to set up this infrastructure. So these are my answers. Thank you.
Okay, good attempt there to answer it. Now I have a specific question to freewheeling team of, and I'm saying freewheeling with all responsibility. I'm not saying you are doing wrong or injustice to other. Freewheeling team of environmental activists. They are ignoring two facts about the country. First of all, total electrification is also a responsibility of government policymakers. No, you have to mute yourself, please. Rajaji, you have to mute yourself. Yeah.
Yes, I.
Yeah. So what I was saying is that also a responsibility. There was also a responsibility of electricity company to reach to 2.48 crores rural houses with electrification under Saubhagya scheme. And you are aware that 31st March 2021, they committed that they will reach to everywhere and all houses last mile will be connected, right? And specifically in July 2023, we have achieved that, right? As an achievement that when the Piyush Goyal ji has announced that we have reached to our last mile delivery of electrification. So that is one responsibility. At the same time, we need cleaner air to breathe. Yeah, and we know the major culprit is energy sector. So are we not expecting too much from energy companies here?
So my answer is that we are expecting too much, but desulfurization units were already planned. Can I show one or two slides? What is the status and what is the plan? The current status, I mean 2020 status.
Oh, but that will
So
be
the status,
unfair.
if you see the status, it is very, very poor. So you means it shows that there is no commitment from the part of energy sector to implement those things.
Okay, fine. So you stand on your point that they are not doing enough.
Yeah, because I have a status of 2020 and there is no much change.
Okay.
If you see the number of units who are implemented, it is not a 1% or 2%, sir.
Okay.
If it is 25, 30, 50%, up into the rule came in December 2015. This is status of December 2020.
Okay.
So in
Fair.
5 years also only 2 to 3% implementation is there. Not 2% also, sir.
Okay, fair. We don't have that as statistics, so we are not going to discuss that. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate your effort, and we have come to end of our discussion as a moot discussion on energy sector transition. Everyone has done a great job, no doubt about it. Look, what I have seen here is that all three segments need to come together and facilitate a path of common ground. Okay, common ground in terms of providing a transition justified for the people who are employed in the fossil fuel sector. That has to be considered. Second, we have to consider the current status of our energy system, where Subodh ji, etc., was giving the statistics that 70% is still we rely on fossil fuel. We cannot ignore that. However, at the same time, we need a cleaner air. And there is no one size fits all for this industry. So I believe a very good point. Somebody mentioned that Honorable Prime Minister has already committed to certain targets and putting enough funds to this sector. And at the same time, we are also exploring new renewable energy like modular nuclear plants, specifically modular one, the smaller ones. And hopefully that will be the right mix for energy companies to also look into, apart from what all the strategy they have already said and implemented. With that, we have come to end of the discussion part. But observers, this is your chance to give one-liner, two-liner on the performance of the members who has presented today. And what do you, or do you have any additional opinion about this sector? If you want, and we will have the closing. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, good evening. This is Raja. Sir, as sir correctly said, the implementation part is very slow in our thermal power station areas. I am hailing from an area where the MTPP, they are having a thermal plant. Earlier, it was a very good, conducive place for our living, smart living and sustainable living. After introduction of the thermal plant, people are undergoing an eosinophobia, the increasing side. People's living in that area is increasing side, and the air is also becoming polluted. As Sir said, the implementation of the air filtration, air particles is on the very, very slow pace. So that is to be implemented, sir, in the cold area, thermal area. This is my observation. As an citizen, I am also feeling that impact in my area. That is to be taken care while making the policy and implemented it.
So you are
Thank you, sir.
that policymakers and the company both has to
do the joint work, sir.
Okay.
And in a phased and fast manner, they should implement the required facilities.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Yes,
Raja,
sir.
for your
Yes,
input.
thank you. Thank you, sir.
I
Thank
think
you.
that has helped. Okay,
Yes,
Kailash,
sir.
go ahead. Your point of view.
No, I mean, I joined late, of course, but I just wanted to say that I wish I could have joined as a participant. It would have forced me to learn even more and understand all those government policies and all those things which they mentioned. It was very nice to hear. But I agree with Subodhji, as in, I mean, even though we have all these policies in place, but that intent is missing. That's what he was trying to say, I think. So, like, even I agree that, like, even though everything is in place, but the intent is missing, which probably, like, people from this class, if they would be there, probably it would be better option, I guess. But yeah, I think until that is taken care of, it will be a little difficult to achieve what we're aiming for. So that will be the best
Good
way.
stuff. Good stuff, Kailash. Thank you for your input. It definitely would have helped a team environment. Okay, so Paresh ji, you have any opinion about the team members or the point of view on energy sector? Go ahead.
No, I think all my seniors represented their role very well. They had done wonderful homework, and I could learn a lot of things from them. It was highly techno-commercial. So well done, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much for appreciating the team members' effort. Okay, anybody else who wants to put their last word, or otherwise we will straight away go to last module of our discussion.
So I sent the presentation
Oh, that's good.
to
Thank
you
you.
by mail. Actually, I have to redo it because laptop hanged and everything gone.
Not a problem. I can understand. Thank you. Appreciate everyone. So let's start with the session for today. If nobody has nothing to add here. Okay, let me share the screen. We are on last module now, module number 5. We have already covered yesterday last part of segment reporting. Now we are going into module 5, which is about carbon accounting and related stuff. Let me share my screen, and once the screen is visible, just let me know. Is my screen visible?
Not yet. Yeah.
Hey, so what a session. Wonderful. I really like the enthusiasm, the research, and the passion with everybody has spoken today in the moot discussion on sector-specific part of our learning in Bootcamp. Really impressive. Thank you, everyone who has contributed to the same. Now, we are talking about carbon markets now, which is the last part, the last layer, which is required your understanding, because eventually you will be the one who will be either using or developing it after knowing the GHG accounting. To understand the carbon market, first of all, we have to understand the definition itself, which is there associated with the carbon market. Now, carbon markets are innovative systems specifically designed to enable the climate action, even in the case we fail to achieve as a company, individual, or a country, the 100% target which we are trying to achieve. Because there will be a part of carbon dioxide emission which will be unabated. And to have those also covered as a part of net zero targets, we require a vibrant carbon markets. Yeah, and that's why this innovative system is designed to cap the greenhouse gases emissions and allowing certain companies to trade the allowances or credits they have to meet the compliance targets. Okay, so cap and trade, these are the two key words here which we are going to dwell in next 10 minutes. till the time I cover the carbon market. Then we will shift ourselves to understanding next topic, which is how this market works and how they operate. What are the implications? So this is a system. Carbon markets is a system where cap and trade mechanism gets introduced, or cap and allowance mechanism gets introduced, where the credits, the allowances means there is an extra part which we have, can be traded to the other party who is in need of the same. Now, if you are aware, by putting a price on a carbon dioxide, these market actually creates a financial incentive. Yeah, financial incentive for companies to reduce their emissions. Yeah, thereby contributing to the overall greenhouse gas mitigation effort. Because it is very difficult to reach to net zero levels without having a carbon market. Thereby, putting a price actually incentivizes. How it incentivizes, we will be learning. So don't get bogged down if you do not understand how a carbon market incentivize the process. Yeah. Now, the mechanism is not only encourages businesses to adopt a cleaner technology, but also it fosters a competitive environment. Competitive environment for what? Competitive environment for people to fight for sustainability. Okay. How it happens, you can only understand by understanding the different types of market. For example, there is a compliance market, which is a mandatory market, okay, or regulated market, we say, and there is a voluntary carbon markets, VCS, okay. Compliance market, everybody knows. How many of you have heard about European Union emission trading system? We have covered in second module itself, right? Didn't we? EU CTS in the National Carbon Greenhouse Gas Emission Program, we have learned that. EPA ka GHG program and European Union ka ETS and India ka CCTS. We remember that, right? Anybody who has forgotten, tell me now. We remember that clearly, correct? EU ETS, Tanmay is saying yes, Raja is saying yes. Yeah. Now, this is a regulated market, which in European Union, if you recall, we have talked about that. They have set a cap to certain industry. Okay. Even in Indian market, they have in certain industry, they have put a cap. And then anybody who has not used that cap, or they have emitted a greenhouse gas lower than the cap set by the government or the mandatory market, they will have an advantage to bring that additional carbon and sell it into the European Union ETS market. Clear? The people who have actually not only exceeded the cap, not only utilized the cap provided to them, but also exceeded, are forced to buy from the market. Otherwise, they will get penalized for exceeding the cap. And this is that regulatory approach which we should be focusing on. Correct or wrong? This is that regulatory approach which we should be worried about. Okay. Okay. This is that regulatory approach which ensures that emission reductions are achieved in a cost-effective manner while maintaining the accountability. Yeah, accountability remains with the industry players who are binded or abided by that cap and trade mechanism. And the benefit comes to people who are little conservative in their approach. They are conscious that, look, there is a cap and I should not be exceeding. And if that requires, I need to invest. Because generally people in the transition process, the major problem is capital investment. Nobody wants to do additional capital investment till the time they are penalized for it, or there is a massive advantage in terms of revenue returns. Correct or wrong? Stick and carrot, a lot of you have spoken today about. Yeah. While maintaining, there is accountability. While voluntary carbon markets support sustainability goals through voluntary offset, where it gives a flexibility to the people. Yeah. What kind of example, Tanmay, you are asking, if you can ask that? For example, let's take a steel industry.
No, actually, regarding the carbon market,
Okay,
regarding
so
that,
that's what I'm
how
giving.
the trading, how the capping is going on.
Yeah, so exactly the same way. For example, steel industry has been asked that if you exceed into GHGRP program, if you exceed 25,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide emission, you will be penalized for it. So the company like Tata, who is putting the new technology and controlling their emission and keeping it below 25,000, say on 20,000 metric ton in that year, they are first of all not responsible to report to EPA scheme of GHGRP. Second, they can sell even 5,000 extra which they have now in the market, which other player like Jindal, who has not upgraded their system, need to buy it because they might have exceeded the limit to 35,000. So they need two Tata companies to sell them the carbon credit in steel sector. Is it that example clear with you on the compliance market? When we come to voluntary carbon market, in contrast to compliance markets, voluntary carbon markets allows organization to purchase carbon credit irrespective of cap and trade. Yeah, to offset their emissions voluntarily. The market doesn't make it mandatory for such kind of company. And here example is service industry. Is there is any scheme there? No, at all. There is no government mandatory scheme apart from BRSR top 1,000 company who has to report about it. There is no mandatory scheme that how much carbon dioxide they should be emitting over a year of time. In this case, if the Infosys or Wipro goes inside the market and try to buy, carbon credits by different player who are putting renewable energy plants and creating RECs. That market is called voluntary market, where there is no mandatory requirement, but people are doing this trade because somebody is putting a renewable energy plant, so he is capable of getting that credit, or has a large parcel of land where they are doing the harvesting and they are capable of getting the agriculture credit. And second party who has not even responsible for any mandatory requirement, but they are doing because they are conscious about sustainability. They want to follow net zero targets. They have SBTi in place, so they prefer to go into the market and buy it. This often parts of a broader sustainability goal, which Infosys or such kind of companies which wants to achieve. And this is how they are enabling their own company to demonstrate their commitment to environmental responsibility. Yeah, these markets generally support various projects such as reforestation, renewable energy initiative, which contributes to the global effort in combating the climate change, as well as company commitment to achieve the same. Okay. So in summary, in gist, if you want to understand the compliance voluntary market and the role of and the purpose of carbon market, you have to understand carbon market plays a crucial role, right? Crucial role in GHG mitigation strategy by providing a structured approach to reducing the emission. So this is that structure approach. You can choose any one of these where you are sitting in your sector, right? Through both compliance and voluntary market or mechanism, specifically the carbon market incentivizes the companies to innovate and invest in sustainability drive and practices, ultimately supporting that transition which we know today as a low carbon economy. Yeah, that's what the target of carbon markets are. That's what the purpose of carbon market are. And you, by understanding and engaging in carbon market tomorrow, as a corporate, as an individual, as a countryman, effectively you are aligning your operation, your vision, your conscious with the global climate change and global climate goals, and enhancing a competitive edge of your country, your own self, as well as for your corporation. Any confusion here, any doubt here, you can ask now. Otherwise, I will explain one more time cap and trade system by making it a little more simpler with a case study. Do you want to understand that? How many of you want a simpler understanding of cap and trade? Or if you have understood completely, then we will move on.
If we need one more time explanation.
Okay, fair.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes.
Sir, like in the normal carbon market and the voluntary carbon market,
Right.
both are sellable to the EU ETS system, or only the carbon market only?
No, look, compliance carbon market is where people go to EU ETS. Voluntary, you can go there, but it's very costly. You have to understand,
Okay.
Tanmay. Always understand one thing very clearly. When it is a mandatory requirement, there will be supply demand gap will be higher, and there will be costly arrangement to pay. Why? Because otherwise government will take a punitive action on your company. Are you with me? That means
Okay.
it will be always costly. So going to EU ETS might help you. Being in Europe, you have no other choice. You have to follow EU ETS irrespective of you are in that sector or not, and you go and buy from it. But ideally, people do not want to go into compliance markets because if they are not part of that compliance system, okay, if they are not, right? Omnibus is there now, which is releasing a lot of company out of clutches of CSRD plans, if you are aware about it. Right now, Europe has gone in that segment where instead of 50,000 company which were supposed to get compliance, now only 7,000 or 9,000 is a part of the compliance system. The rest of them can go into voluntary market, not necessarily only EU ETS, but any other market they are open to. Just to simplify the things, now let's take an example of energy efficiency and emission allowances. Okay, let's consider real-time example from Europe, which illustrates how a company can implement energy efficiency process so that they can benefit from the cap and trade system. Assume that there is a manufacturing company in Germany, yeah, and that produces automotive part. This company decides to invest in an energy efficient technology, which requires a capital investment, such as upgrading its machinery from being a traditional, fossil fuel machinery to use reduce the energy requirement itself by providing better insulation, better moving parts, etc. Ms. Paresh Joshi ji and all Raja who comes from mechanical engineering, they know it, that it is a very much possible that you can start utilizing less energy by implementing better insulation, better moving parts, lubricating your machine at right time, doing preventive maintenance, etc., and putting a lot of capital investment upfront. As a result of this improvements, that company in Germany significantly reduces its greenhouse gas emissions. हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया ना कि नया मशीन रहेगा तो it will reduce the emission anyway, and if it is a very efficient machinery, automatically that automotive parts which will be produced will require a less greenhouse gas emission. Now understand how the cap and trade will work in this scenario. First, reduction in emission which this company is able to achieve after implementing an energy efficient process can find that he has reduced 1,000 tons of CO2 per year. Just assume that. So they were earlier consuming 20,000. Now they need only 19,000 greenhouse gas emission they will be emitting from this year onward. So under EU ETS system, emission trading system, the company is allocated a certain number of energy allowances in the beginning based on the number of emission allowances of their historical emissions. So they were doing 20 to 22,000. They were given a cap of 21,000. For example, historically, they were emitting 22,000 carbon dioxide metric ton. They had a cap of for this year, and always remember cap and trade में reduction होता है. It never stays on the same line for industry or company all the time. It will keep on reducing because target is what? Target is to get a zero emission from all the industry. 2070 में when you want to become net zero, your target will be that whatever you are emitting and whatever sink you have or whatever system you have to reduce it should reach to a threshold of that there is a zero net emission. There is a zero emission or zero net emission. Correct or wrong? So eventually, industry or government or EU ETS system wants you to reach to zero. They said in 2025-26, this company should have 21,000. Now see what has happened. Last year, they produced 20,000. They had 1,000 ka extra gap. This year, they will be producing greenhouse gases only 90,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide. How much saving they have done from the cap? How much allowances they have now?
1,000
metric tons.
2000 तन में 1000 तो
2000.
पहले ही बचा हुआ था और 1000 एडिशनल इन लोगों ने बचा दिया बाय शिफ्टिंग.
That is from the previous years. Yes, got it.
Absolutely. So 2000 he has now in his pocket. What will he do? He will go into EU ETS market and sell this excess allowance. He will not keep it with himself. Why? Because he has to cover his capital emission, his capital investment which he has done. He has to recover that, right? He has to tell, Paresh has to tell the company that, boss, I'm not just telling you invest, I'm also telling you that you will get every year so much of money in your pocket. Are you with me? And then over a 10-year, 15-year down the line, even you will recover this investment which you did. Forget about there will be less emission in your company. You will recover your money. हाँ, आपका business में IRR and NPV and payback period is 3 years. In this capital investment, it might be 10 years. But still, this is required for you to be below your threshold because every year the government will be reducing. This year it is 21. Next year it will be 20. Next to next year it will be. You are getting my point. So at that point in time, if you don't invest now, you will be stuck, Tanmay, aren't you? This company, manufacturing company, after 3 years down the line, he will be stuck. कि 3 साल पहले इन्वेस्ट नहीं किया अब तो इन्वेस्टमेंट का पैसा भी ज्यादा लगेगा पीपीपी के बेसिस पे इन्फ्लेशन आ जाएगी ना एंड देन यू हैव टू एनीवे इन्वेस्ट अदरवाइज यू विल स्टार्ट बाइंग फ्रॉम द मार्केट एंड स्टार्ट पेइंग द पेनाल्टी. करेक्ट है, रॉन्ग है, क्लैरिटी है कि नहीं है तन्मय?
Yes.
इतनी क्लैरिटी है, right? So he will sell the excess allowances in the market and this allowances will enable this company to recover whatever he has invested as a investment in the beginning. And this is the financial incentive I was talking about, that by selling its extra allowances, the automotive part manufacturer can now earn additional revenue. And this financial incentive encourages the company to continue investing in energy efficient technology, which Paresh ji and Subodh ji is preaching right now, right? Or we say that company has to be conscious about their energy efficiency because it has a payback as well. It has a return as well, right? And that is what return? It is a additional revenue in terms of coming from financial incentive by selling that carbon credit in the market. That's why carbon credit is so important. Learning GHG is one part. Making your organization a profit center is another part. To have that organization profit center, this is the last trick of the trade which I am giving you guys. From tomorrow onwards, if you don't come even, I have returned your money. Why? Because now I made you to showcase to your company that you are not only a environmentally conscious carbon footprint calculator of your company, but also you can churn the company cost center into a profit center. How many of you have that aha moment? Say yes in chat box or unmute yourself. Say that, yes, sir, we got that. Or yes, Vivek, I got it. Yeah, we can convert any company into profit center by putting this droplets. These are droplets in the ocean. I'm not saying that you have achieved, 200%, reduction. You will never become that immediately. But at least even though being sustainable, you are not a cost center any longer for your company. How many of you think that? Paresh ji, Ravi ji, what is your...
Definitely.
Yeah, this is the way we can tell that, okay, this is a small droplet, but if that droplet keep on pounding on the same place for a long time, it can dig a hole there. Have we not seen in our life कि जहां पानी गिरता है, छत पानी गिरता है, वहां
there is a saying in proverb that every droplet makes ocean.
Ocean, that is one. And then there is a हिंदी में there is a saying कि जो रस्सी होती है, जो पानी वेल से निकालने के लिए जो रस्सी होती है पुली पे, वो घिस घिस के स्टोन में एक होल बना देती है, एक लाइन बना देती है, एक पाइप बना देती है. जड़वत सुजान, ऑफ कोर्स हिंदी का है, देयर इज अ कहावत. So that is the point. It looks a very small incentive for companies, but this is that incentive which will turn your cost center into profit center. And that was the last trick of trade on module number 5. I wanted you to have it. Subodh ji, what do you think? Is it not that incentive that company will be convinced with you?
Yes, yes. I already replied, sir, in chat. Yes, it is definitely.
Absolutely.
And as you said, the cost will go on increasing for capital investment, and parallelly the norms will go on decreasing. So both are going to increase the gap between both of them.
Absolutely. Rajni ji.
Emission उसे reduce करने ही है because he has a cap, right? So it is serving the dual purpose. Not only at the same time he is convinced and he is motivated to reduce this thing emissions, at the same time since he has extra carbon credits, so he can sell it, and the capex he can recover, and then later on he can spend more on the innovation. So it's a kind of a cyclic, a cascading kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Where somebody has to start.
as you rightly put it, flexible है companies. अगर इसने कर लिया तो सारे काम कर सकते हैं, जैसे
बिल्कुल.
इलॉन मस्क ने किया था.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes, you are right. $1.3 billion का revenue is churning out under
उसका सर ये
EVs.
बताइए अभी क्या सीन
And
है.
same similar. Sorry to interrupt.
सर
Similar
क्या
thing is
One by one, please. Yeah.
क्या सुबोध जी आप बता रहे थे कुछ.
then a similar thing like Elon Musk is done by Gujarat Fluorocarbon. I think that Bharatiya, yeah, somebody's company.
Bhartiyar, yes.
Yeah. So they have also minted money by selling this, by making
Carbon.
fluorocarbons and reducing the emission, and they sold that carbon credit to Europe in
Bhartiyar.
millions of rupees. Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
Gujarat Fluorocarbon. Actually, the owner I
Okay.
don't recollect. I will check.
Perfect. Very good. Please post that also in the group so other can benefit. Thank you very much, everyone. And that was the part. So how cap and trade works? It works by regulatory authority establishing a limit or emission, which is typically reducing over a period of time, encouraging ongoing reduction targets. Allocation of allowances. The companies are allocated emission allowances based on the industry which they operate. It is a kind of permit where they say that you can emit a certain amount of greenhouse gases only. And thereby, if somebody is still implementing additional resources, reducing further more carbon emission, will have a capability to trade their extra allowances as a credit into the market, converting as a carbon credit. What are the benefits? Just now we have repeated ourselves. Flexibility for the company. So it gives a cost effective emissions reduction targets. Second, overall emission reduction happens because the widespread participation by people seeing this as an opportunity, like Gujarat Fluorocarbons, Tesla in international market, etc. And it encourages innovation. Other players also start looking into those mechanisms which can reduce their emission through different emission reduction technology. Now, this was first introduced in Kyoto Protocol, and we know that it failed miserably. And these are those reasons why it failed and how it has created a path for Paris Agreement to pick it up and correct those mistakes and correct a system which people would have preferred and liked it. We know one of the reasons was hot air, but apart from that, the Kyoto Protocol doomed, and COP29, of course, learned from it and implemented 6.2 and 6.4, which we will be learning in next slide. Was first is US withdrawal. Second was the limited result. The emission cut fell flat because nobody was doing emission cut, rather than they were boasting their numbers that I am doing so much of emission reduction without doing it actually, because there was no real mechanism to measure and check. There was no muscle at that point in time in United States to even do it. They came to know about hot air scandal in Eastern European, Western European, Northern European sites, specifically Soviet Union side. Yeah, but they could not, apart from that, and that too came after quite late. And that is why the economic fear cropped up, because country afraid to comply. They thought that, look, some people who will be forcing themselves and producing falsified reports will be the winner here because of the weak enforcement, and thereby Kyoto Protocol failed. And hence Paris Agreement took the center stage in 2015, which was adopted as a global action plan to limit global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius and preferably to 1.5 degrees Celsius. compared to pre-industrial level. Always remember that 1850s. Yeah. It is a legally binding international treaty applied to initially to 189 out of 196 parties signed it. Later on, rest of them signed. And this was, of course, initiated by UNFCCC, United Nations Framework for Convention on Climate Change. Having ratified it, now Paris Agreement has got tooth in terms of article number 6.2, 6.4, and 6.8 becoming effective by October 2025. That's what the target has been agreed in COP29 and ratified. But you need to know few more things about Paris Agreement. Tell me how many articles are there? Anybody knows that? How many total articles are there in Paris Agreement? Quick. Which actually outlines the framework and operational guidelines for the Paris Agreement to get effective. Okay, just for your information purpose, there are 29 articles. Additionally, it also includes 16 introductory paragraphs. Apart from this article, there are 16 introductory paragraphs that sets the context for this agreement, why this agreement is required, who is bringing it, who all are behind it, why they are agreeing it. Always remember there are 7 appendices as a part of this agreement. Okay, how many? 7 appendices. So 16 different introductory paragraphs, 29 articles, 7 appendices, which covers 7 appendices also cover 139 different articles. Okay, so it's a massive document in itself. Clear? The key component of Paris Agreement remains in Article 6, always remember, because it gets the teeth there, which introduces the provision for voluntary cooperation. Mandatory market, of course, every country can create. Like in India also, we are seeing CCTS. Right now, it's not compulsory market, but they are setting up, or they have already clarified that so many industry has to follow it. This is the carbon target they have to take, etc., etc. But Paris Agreement Article 6 provides that provision for voluntary cooperation and international cooperation, which is exactly happens in 6.2 and 6.4, right? How it happens, we will be learning that very soon. So Article 6 is divided into different sector, but 3 of them are very important, which is 6.2, 6.4, and 6.8, each addressing a different aspect of the cooperation between different countries whenever they are exchanging or talking about nationally determined contribution. कौन सा contribution? NDC. Yeah, we have learned that in module 1 itself.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So understanding the Article 6 of the Paris Agreement will help you to understand what has happened in COP29. I have already produced 2 videos on the same, COP29 and COP28. Highlights. It's a 5-minute video each. Watch it. So, and there is a discussion as well. Watch it to understand that what all has been happening in 28 and 29. We are also going to aggressively cover COP30, and we generally do a similar like of mood discussion, that what is going right, what is going wrong, what we as a country need to put forward, what Terry should be talking, what other organization who are representing us there should be highlighting or discussing, and what should be the outcome. As a team member, we sit together and talk. It's not that we are representing any government institution, but this is our opinion, which if somebody wants to take a notice, they should take a notice and bring it in the front of different other bodies. Now this article, because we see sometimes we are not really represented well. Sometime, I'm not saying all the time. This time though, we have definitely done a great job by creating a viral video where one of our foreign secretary has really put forward great words that why we do not accept loss and damage fund, which was created with $200 billion. We wanted $1.7 trillion. And she has put the reasons very well articulated way. Now let's understand 6.2 first. 6.2 establishes the cooperative approaches. तो कोई कल पूछेगा आपसे कि क्या है 6.2 6.2, हमेशा आप लोग बोलते रहते हो, तो बस एक वर्ड में बोलना है, cooperative approaches are discussed in detail there. Now, this allows, actually 6.2 allows country to engage in a cooperative approaches for achieving NDC. Each country has their own nationally determined contribution towards the net zero target of 2050. Correct or wrong? This is what we have learned on day 1.
Yes, sir.
2050 का टारगेट है. Every country has its own flexibility under Paris Agreement to commit to their own targets even. Sometimes people are putting 2060, sometimes 2045. Yesterday, Rajni ji has illustrated that how a country, a small country in Latin America, Costa Rica, has committed even 2045. Denmark, Ravindran and 2-3 more people have covered yesterday. So look into those videos as well. Quite educating videos which our team member has done with the deep research. Subodhji research is phenomenal, I believe, at least in terms of corporate action, like company like Toyota, right, which has failed miserably with their battery system, but they have realized that hybrid is much better than the battery system itself. Correct, Subodhji? You have established that fact, right? That hybrid is much cleaner
Yes.
than the battery itself. Now, coming back to the 6.2 story, that this is that process of engaging cooperative approaches so that each country who has decided their own nationally determined contribution are able to achieve by using or creating internationally transferred mitigation outcome. Remember this very important word which I have said just now, ITMOs. In short, you will hear all the time in big discussion, people are talking about ITMOs. Is nothing but it's a mechanism through which a country can trade their carbon to the other country with a validity. And there is a process which has been set under 6.4. Are you with me? 6.4 में क्या है? वो process ITMO के लिए establish कर दिया गया है. Why this has been set? Because it promotes voluntary cooperation between countries, not only the corporate. Of course, corporate has to come to the country level. Then they are contributing to NDC, and that total level gets transferred to each other country based on how much extra allowances this country have, based on how much mitigation outcome this country has taken. And it also encourages the use of robust accounting so that it avoid double counting emission reduction, which is a doubt which each of our participant had some point in time. तो याद है हमने आपको क्या बोला था कि इकोनॉमिक्स में, and I remember that I didn't answer you, so I'm answering it now. Few of you have asked this question repetitively in this session as well. The answer is this, that how people control the double counting, specifically when different company has counted scope 1, another company is counting scope 3. Correct or wrong? Same company, for me, it is scope 1. For somebody, I am doing scope 3. Correct or wrong? I'm part of the value chain across the world. So how the double counting gets avoided? Double counting gets avoided by simple measure called GDP understanding or GVA understanding, which we must have heard. For example, one person, or if anybody understands GST, they will also able to relate it. Of course, they are not very similar, but one is taxation, one is economic accounting, one is value add accounting in our economy. But point here is the economics or the mathematics there is similar to avoiding the double counting here as well. Why? Because what we do that every level, for example, somebody is producing energy. Now, when he sells the energy, he sells 1 unit at 10 rupees. How many of you know that fact? Rajni ji, Raja ji, Subodh ji, Tanmay, all of you, do you agree that we sell energy at 10 rupees per unit? Don't we?
Yes.
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 Very simple, right? Now, 10 rupees, there is a carbon emission. The energy actually comes from the coal generated power plant, right? So 10 rupees, say, has a carbon emission of 10 tons. That 10 rupees energy which I am buying actually in a scope 2 emission, it will be part of a scope 2. How many of you agree? Purchase electricity, 2
Yes,
keywords,
sir.
scope 2. Scope 2 means how much ton I will record? 10. I have recorded now 10 under scope 2. It's an indirect emission, but it is 10 rupees, 10 tons of metric ton. Which company has done? Ravindran ji company, say Ravindran Thermal Power Plant. I have recorded on their name. I have recorded as a company on his name that it is my scope 2 emission. For him, it is a scope 1 emission or not. How many of you agree?
Yes.
Ravindran Thermal Power Plant will record 10 tons of carbon dioxide in scope 1. Now,
Yes.
210 tons, correct or wrong? 210 tons, everybody is recording. How will I reduce? And forget about that. Just imagine Ravindran has bought coal to burn that coal in thermal power plant to supply it to Vivek Suman Enterprises. Right? Now he has bought a coal. When he buys a coal, which emission is it? The coal ka emission.
Some sound is coming, sir.
I think Rajaji is traveling, so that's why noise is coming. But what I'm asking is that the coal which Ravindran and company thermal power plant has purchased for 5 rupees to produce 1 unit 10 rupees and 10 ton, 5 ton is coming from this 5 rupees. इसमें कोई confusion है किसी को? Anybody has any confusion? Tell me now.
Sir, can you please repeat again?
Okay, Tanmay, again for you. What I'm saying is, Vivek Suman, has purchased 10 tons of carbon dioxide, or I have 10 tons of carbon dioxide emission because I purchased 10 rupees worth of energy from Ravindran company. Now, Ravindran company has purchased 5 rupees worth of coal to create 10 tons of carbon emission. That 5 rupees equivalent to 5 tons of carbon emission he is purchasing from Coal India. He is purchasing from where? Coal India. First of all, the question is Ravindran will record under which scope this coal purchase.
Scope 1, sir.
Absolutely, Rajaji. Tell me which
Scope one.
category one. Everyone, tell me the category. Which category it will be? Coal.
Or
Category number 1. Don't we have category number 1, which is purchase of goods and services?
Yes.
yes, yes.
So category number 1 में इन्होंने record कर दिया 5 tons. Now for him it is scope 3. For the coal company it is what? Which scope emission it will be?
Coal company is to
Scope 1.
Scope
Absolutely,
one.
वैष्णवी जी वो रिकॉर्ड कर रहा है स्कोप 1. अब देखिए प्रॉब्लम
Scope
क्या है.
1.
5 रुपया यहाँ 5 टन हो गया कोल इंडिया में, 10 टन हो गया रविंद्रन थर्मल पावर प्लांट में, एंड 10 टन हो गया विवेक सुमन एंटरप्राइजेस में. Any confusion up to this calculation? Now, if I will add this all together at national level accounting, Rajni ji, then how much of total
25 टन बना दिए हम लोग तो.
Sorry?
5 टन का 20 टन और जोड़ दिए हैं.
हाँ, 25 टन हो गया ना, तो ये तो डबल काउंटिंग है ना. यही तो समझाने की कोशिश करना है मुझे इस एग्जाम्पल पे. दिस इज डबल काउंटिंग. आई कैन नॉट डू इट. इकोनॉमिक्स में ऐसा करते हैं क्या हम लोग? जीएसटी, अगर आपको याद होगा, जीएसटी का बिल आपको चाहिए था, तो हमने क्या करा? हमारा बिल था उसके ऊपर लगा दिया. राइट और रॉन्ग? अब हमने जिससे सर्विस लिया होगा, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई हैव हायर्ड एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम सुबोध जी टू डिलीवर दिस प्रोग्राम. जस्ट इमेजिन. ओके, एंड ही चार्ज मी हाफ ऑफ दैट अमाउंट. सो मान लीजिए आपने 12,000 हमें पे किया, मैंने जीएसटी 12,000 के ऊपर 18% लगाया, और मैंने क्या करा? मैंने डिलीवर नहीं करके सुबोध जी से डिलीवर कराया और उनसे 5,000 पे एग्री करा या 6,000 पे एग्री करा, हाफ पे, और उनको मैंने 18% उन पे लोड कर दिया. उन्होंने, of course he doesn't want from 6,000 to be reduced. He will say that okay, 18% on top of it. So say मेरा था 12,000 पे 18%, 13,000. सुबोध जी का 6,000 पे, सॉरी 1,300. सुबोध जी का 6,000 पे it will be approximately say 600. Correct or wrong? अब सोचिए, if I will add this all together, रजनी जी को कितना पे करना चाहिए? Will Rajni ji will pay me this 600 also? No. She will only pay that 1,300 plus 12,000 which she has paid for this program. Correct or wrong? She is not concerned about how much I am charging the backward. Or how much the Subodh ji had charged me as a GST. Absolutely not.
Tax over tax cannot happen.
वो तो नेट ही पे करना है ना, और मुझे भी नेट ही पे करना है. What will happen? 18% I will collect from you, 1,300, and I will give 600 for him, and I will only deposit rest of the money to the government, not all 1,300. This is exactly same thing goes to your carbon accounting as well, where you say 10 ton is total emission, not 5 plus 10 plus 10. 25 नहीं करना है. क्या है? टोटल इमिशन इन कंट्री हुआ है 10 ही. अब किसने कितना किया है? बेस्ड ऑन द वैल्यू एड आई विल कैलकुलेट. सो मैंने तो स्कोप 2 में लिया ना, तो मेरा 0 इमिशन हो गया. मतलब उस अकाउंट पे जीरो इमिशन हो गया टोटल इमिशन मेरा 10। लेकिन मैं क्या बोल रहा हूं, ये मैंने इनसे खरीदा है। सो इवन दो आई एम रिपोर्टिंग अंडर स्कोप 2 नॉट स्कोप 1। मेरा इमिशन नहीं है, ये इमिशन मेरे बिहाफ पे किया गया है बाय इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कंपनी, दैट्स व्हाई आई एम रिपोर्टिंग एंड शोइंग। So 10 ton is the total emission at country level has happened. Now who has done what? They will be culprit. So who is the major culprit here? Ravindran Thermal Power Plant. That's why energy company is right now in focus. आप समझ रहे हो? I am not in focus. मेरे बिहाफ में इन्होंने किया, अगर यही instead of 10 tons, if you would have given only 5 ton emission, because he has transitioned himself to the renewable energy. जस्ट इमेजिन करो ना आप, रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी का जब हमने काउंटिंग करा था फ्री क्लास में, व्हाट वाज द नंबर आई हैव एलोकेटेड इमिशन
Zero.
फैक्टर? जीरो।
Zero.
एब्सोल्युटली रवि, आपको याद है हमने जीरो डाला था, तो ऑटोमेटिकली मेरा इमिशन मेरे लिए भी कम हो गया। अब कितना इमिशन आप मेरे को चार्ज करोगे? 5। तो मेरे को भी 5 रिपोर्ट करना है, आप भी 5 ही रिपोर्ट कर रहे हो, बट ओवरऑल कंट्री लेवल पे 5 तो कम हो गया ना। तो डबल काउंटिंग भी आपको समझ में आ गई, और इफेक्ट ऑफ एनर्जी कंपनी आपको समझ में आ गई। इसलिए अभी ये सिस्टम रखा गया है कि आप एंड यूजर हो ना, तो आप पूरा रिपोर्ट करो। मतलब क्या, रजनी जी पूरा 12,000 प्लस 1,300 रिपोर्ट करेंगी। मेरे को कॉस्ट, रजनी जी बोलेंगी मेरे को कॉस्ट तो सर 14,000 पड़ा है, आप दूसरे को 12,000 चार्ज कर रहे हो। तो मैं बोलूंगा कि उसको चार्ज कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि उसको कार्बन इमिशन का क्रेडिट नहीं दे रहा हूँ, अरे विद मी जीएसटी नहीं दे रहा हूँ। आपको 14,000 पड़ रहा है बिकॉज यू आर ऑनेस्ट टू द गवर्नमेंट, सो यू आर फाइंडिंग इट विथ द टैक्स। सिमिलरली ऑल कंपनी शुड बी ट्रांसपेरेंट हियर। आर यू विथ मी? So ये 5 ton is only for the coal power plant to reduce. For him to reduce is 5 ton. Why? Because that is his scope 1. For energy company is what? 10. For him to reduce 10. And for me it's 0. Why? Because all things are in scope 3, 2 और 3. 1 में तो मैंने कुछ किया ही नहीं ना एनर्जी के बिहाफ पे, सो मेरे लिए वो 0 रहेगा। बट आप देखिए अब प्लान कहाँ पे, गवर्नमेंट कहाँ काम कर रही है, क्लाइमेट एक्शन कैसे काम करता है। क्लाइमेट एक्शन ये बोलता है कि तुम यूज भी कम करो भाई, आप जर्मनी बनो, ऑटो सप्लायर ऑफ जर्मनी बनो, आप इन्वेस्ट करो कि आप 1 यूनिट के बदले आधा यूनिट ही खर्चा करो ना, और सेम इफिशियंसी दो। ये है एनर्जी सेविंग मैकेनिज्म। तो अब क्या हुआ, अब मैंने 5 रुपए का ही मटेरियल खरीदा, सो ऑटोमेटिकली सबका आधा हो जाएगा ना। 2.5 का कोल आएगा, 2.5 मेट्रिक टन का, 5 मेट्रिक टन का एनर्जी पावर प्लांट बनाएगी, और 5 ही मैं यूज करूंगा, तो कंट्री का भी रिड्यूस हो गया। हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? तो मेरे कॉन्शियस होने से, इसलिए मुझे स्कोप 3 रिपोर्ट करना है। क्यों? क्योंकि फिर मैं कॉन्शियस होऊंगा स्कोप 2 पे, यहाँ पे स्कोप 2 बेस्ड इन दिस केस, राइट? सो दैट इज हाउ द होल सिस्टम वर्क। ये क्लास इसलिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि मैं आपको क्या दे रहा हूं, आपको माला पिरो के दे रहा हूं, सारे कंसेप्ट को ऐड करके आज आपको दे दिया मैंने। कितने लोगों को ये समझ में आया कि बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था ये 2 मिनट?
सो स्कोप 2 का भी जो कंपनी एफिशिएंसी बढ़ाएगा उसको क्रेडिट मिलेगा
अब
ही ना?
ऑफ कोर्स वो बैकवर्ड, आप ऐसे ही सेम कंसेप्ट लेके चले जाओ ना।
इसमें एक लिंक मिसिंग है।
हाँ बोलिए।
Like coal gets produced by various collieries which are in turn under the Western coal field, like these are the coal field, like Coal India Limited के अंडर में।
राइट,
क्या लाइबिलिटी होती है इसमें?
है ना, वही बोला ना, 5 रुपए की लाइबिलिटी है। अब वो क्या कर सकते हैं?
वो भी सर, वो तो थर्मल पावर प्लांट हो गया ना।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, को सुनिए पहले,
चेन थोड़ी लंबी है ना सर।
फिर बिल्कुल सही, लेके चलता हूँ ना, वहां लेके चलता हूँ। पहला
इंडिया
मैंने, अच्छा एक एक करके लेते हैं ना रजनी जी। आपका क्वेश्चन मैं समझ गया हूँ, बहुत पर्टिनेंट क्वेश्चन है, इसलिए मैं जल्दी आंसर करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि बहुत 2-3 और कंसेप्ट मुझे कंप्लीट करने हैं। तो मैं क्या बता रहा हूँ, एक केस स्टडी कंप्लीट करना है माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का, विच विल एक्सप्लेन द सेम थिंग बट ऑफ कोर्स ऑन द कार्बन क्रेडिट साइड। सो लेट मी गिव योर आंसर। सो पहला मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी क्या है स्कोप 3 की? व्हाट डज दिस मीन? दैट स्कोप 3 आई एम रिड्यूसिंग, हाउ? बाय पुटिंग एनर्जी सेविंग मैकेनिज्म। अब आप थोड़ा बड़ा नंबर ले लीजिए, 100 ले लीजिए कि 100 रुपीज की एनर्जी कंजम्पशन हुई विवेक सुमन एंड कंपनी पे। उसने क्या करा, उसने कर दिया 50 का कंजम्पशन बाय पुटिंग एनर्जी सेविंग मैकेनिज्म। अब थर्मल पावर प्लांट में क्या हुआ, उसको 50 रुपए का ही लोड आया 100 के बदले, पहला बेनिफिट उसको हो गया। अब वो क्या करेगा, उसने भी थर्मल से रिन्यूएबल में शिफ्ट हो गया 50%। तो उसने क्या करा, instead of producing 50 tons he is producing only 25 tons, so effectively mine also is 25 ton। अब देखो आप, कोल पे भी आधा का लोड आ रहा है, मतलब क्या, जो पहले 50 रुपए का कोल खरीदता था और 50 टन से इमिशन करता था, और वो 25 रुपए का ही कोल खरीद रहा है।
कंज्यूमर सबसे बड़ा भगवान है, वो
सब
अगर रिड्यूस करेगा तो रिक्वायरमेंट कम होती जाएगी।
पहला अंडरस्टैंडिंग। अब आ जाइए कोल वाले पे। अब कोल वाला क्या कर सकता है? तो पहला तो इन लोगों को एजुकेट कर सकता है कि ये कोल वाले की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी। इसीलिए सब आदमी पकड़ते हैं अरामको को कि भाई तुम लॉबिस्ट को भेजने के बजाय COP 29 में तुम प्लांट्स भेजो ना, इनोवेशन सिस्टम भेजो ना, कि तुम फॉसिल फ्यूल इमिट ही कम करो। तुम एजुकेशन करो ना, दूसरे सेक्टर को जाके समझाओ कि मेरी ऑयल को मत खरीदो। तो तुम क्या करते हो? उल्टा गेम खेलते हो। तुम अपने लॉबिस्ट को भेजते हो कि हम लोग कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं कर रहे हैं भाई। कंज्यूमर को डांटो, चाइना को बोलो, इंडिया को बोलो। यही हो रहा था 28 में, 29 में, 28 में, COP 28 में, जब दुबई में हुआ था। Anyway, I'm not going into politics, but this is a fact. Now, why I'm saying it is a fact? Because the first time in the COP, largest number of lobbyists came from the oil and gas industry to participate there. Now, माइनिंग इंडस्ट्री क्या कर सकती है? क्योंकि उन्होंने वेस्टर्न कोल फील्ड जो लिया हुआ है, वहां पे वो लोग प्रोसेस को इंप्रूव कर सकती है। तो जब, क्योंकि आपको मालूम है कितना चोरी होती है कोल की, कितना इनएफिशिएंट माइनिंग हमारा चल रहा है, ये सब मालूम है। ये सब गवर्नमेंट डॉक्यूमेंटेड, राइट? इसमें कोई हिडन पार्ट नहीं है। आप बिहार में चले जाओ, मतलब लोग कैरी करते हैं अपने पीठ पे। आपको मालूम है कि नहीं मालूम है? ट्रक में लोग हैंच लगा के कोल उतार लेते हैं। यहां तक चोरी हो रही है, इसको भी रोकना मुश्किल है।
चुरा लेते हैं सर,
हाँ,
ट्रेन में से चुरा लेते हैं, चढ़
ट्रेन
के।
में से चुरा लेते हैं। सो वो मान लो ठीक है, 5% 10% ही है, बट है तो। उसको अगर मैंने कंट्रोल करना चालू किया तो ऑटोमेटिकली जो अभी 50 का लोड था एनर्जी कंपनी पे, क्योंकि वो मेरे से बाई कर रहा है कोल 50 रुपए का वर्थ, वो 25 रुपए हो जाएगा। क्यों? क्योंकि इफिशियंसी इन कोयलरी प्लांट हैज इंक्रीज्ड। ये हमको सीखना चाहिए ऑस्ट्रेलियन कंपनी से। हमारे ही लोगों को दे रहा है कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, अडानी ही जाके वहां भी माइनिंग कर रहा है, लेकिन जस्ट माइनिंग करता है वहां पे। जो प्रोटेक्शन प्लान्स हैं गवर्नमेंट इंप्लीमेंट करती है कि आपको एम्प्लॉय जो अंदर घुस रहे हैं माइन में, उसकी प्रोटेक्शन, उसकी इंश्योरेंस सब कराओ, राइट? उसको प्रोटेक्टिव गियर दो, पीपी इक्विपमेंट दो। और उसकी वजह से इवन दो स्टिल दे आर रिलायंट ऑन 40%, कोल पे वो भी रिलायंट है, क्योंकि वहां पे बहुत प्रोडक्शन है कोल। तो वो क्यों नहीं रिलायंट होंगे? ये सबको अपना इकोनॉमिक्स देखना है ना। बट पॉइंट ये है, इफिशियंसी बढ़ा दो आप। इफिशियंसी बढ़ाओगे, ऑटोमेटिकली कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड इमिशन विल रिड्यूस। दैट इज दैट माला which I wanted to give you guys, right? And that's how you should understand NDC and coal plant. Now let's take a one quick case study before we move to the last.
Just small question. Like we have related with respect to GST. GST is controlled by a government, tax system. So this accounting, who will control it? Is
Which
there any
account?
agency?
Which
This
account?
carbon accounting, this to avoid this all this double accounting and all.
No, there is no, this is a very simple system. There is nobody is monitoring this system. Of course, there is a secretary, Ministry of uh, Environmental and Forestry and Climate Change has a responsibility to make sure that they are the secretariat which is reporting to the COP. बॉडी है ना, यूनाइटेड नेशन को हमें रिपोर्ट करना होता है हर एक साल। हमने पेरिस एग्रीमेंट साइन कर दिया, तो देर इज अ रिपोर्टिंग साइकिल एवरी 5 ईयर। तो हमें मैंडेटरी रिपोर्ट करना है कि क्या हमारा स्टेटस है। Okay. So once you have committed, there is a body which is reporting. What that body responsibility is to talk to other ministry, collect this data. कि आपकी इंडस्ट्री में फॉर एग्जांपल सीआईआई को लोग पकड़ते हैं, बोलते हैं भाई तुम्हारे अंडर में जो भी मिनिस्ट्री आती है, जो भी इंडस्ट्री आती है, उस पर तुमने क्या लगाया है। सेबी को पकड़ते हैं कि भैया तुम्हारे यहाँ क्या चल रहा है, लिस्टेड कंपनी पे तुम क्या लगाए हो। इंडस्ट्री वाइड भी सारा इंडस्ट्री है, हर एक सेक्टर का अलग बॉडी है, राइट? तो वो लोग उनसे मिलते हैं, यही उनकी ड्यूटी है, to meet all these guys, convince them to do proper accounting, make sure that that accounting is maintained, etc. Once data is collected, ऑटोमेटिकली वो जैसे जीवीए का कैलकुलेशन होता है ना, जीडीपी का, हर एक इंडस्ट्री का वैल्यू एड ही हो हम लोग कलेक्ट करते हैं ना। हम लोग थोड़ी हर एक का सेल प्राइस ऐड करते चले जाते हैं कि कंट्री ने कितना प्रोड्यूस किया, हमने केवल वैल्यू ऐड करना है, राइट? तो कोल से
Yes.
लेके एनर्जी तक में वी डू नॉट टेक कोल का सेल एंड देन वी टेक एनर्जी कंपनी का सेल एंड देन विवेक सुमन का सेल, ऐसा कुछ नहीं करते हम डिडक्ट कर देते हैं कि ओके इसकी प्रॉफिट कितनी थी, इसकी प्रॉफिट कितनी है और इसकी प्रॉफिट कितनी है, सब प्रॉफिट को ऐड करो और इनिशियल कैपिटल कॉस्ट ले लो या इनिशियल जो प्रोड्यूस हुआ वो ले लो, जो बेस इंडस्ट्री बोलते हैं ना, आप लोग को मालूम होगा, बेस इंडस्ट्री कैलकुलेशंस होते हैं, देन वैल्यू एड कंपनी के कैलकुलेशंस होते हैं, एंड देन लास्ट पर्सन का कैलकुलेशन होता है। तो उस तरह से बिल्टअप होता है। सो दैट इज नॉट अ रॉकेट साइंस, एंड ऑफ कोर्स ये कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है। अगर आप इकोनॉमिक्स में 10th में भी पढ़े हो तो आपको याद आ जाएगा, यू कैन रिकॉल इट, एंड इफ यू आर कंफ्यूज ऑफ कोर्स यू कैन आस्क इन द ग्रुप। लेट्स टेक अप
सर
माइक्रोसॉफ्ट।
रिपोर्टिंग, सॉरी सर, रिपोर्टिंग 5 साल में करना है, लेकिन एनडीसी तो एवरी ईयर रिवाइज करना पड़ेगा ना, बेस्ड ऑन द
हाँ
परफॉर्मेंस।
बिल्कुल, सुबोध जी knows it
Yes.
absolutely. Okay, now Microsoft carbon removal plan, where we started everything with Microsoft का example, if you remember. पहला ग्राफ आपको दिखाया था मैंने माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का, राइट? एंड वी सॉ देयर 3 बेसिक plans. One is with investment. Second was with their 0-0, 100-100 and 0 plan. And third was that they are want to become net zero by 2050. Sorry, net zero by 2030. And they want to remove all their historical emission by 2050. How they are doing it? By 2-3 things which you should be observing, and that's why I said everybody, I recommended that please read their report. Why? Because in the report they have clearly mentioned this part, the internal carbon pricing. तो उन्होंने अंदर में भी एक स्टिक एंड carrot situation रखा है. So department wise they have created this. How they have created? They have created by putting an internal carbon pricing. If anybody remembers, I have told you in the beginning. Now I'm showing you how they are doing it. And this is their carbon removal strategy. They are pioneered in this area now. And the reason is they have put an internal carbon pricing that Microsoft charges themselves $15 per metric ton for scope 1, 2 and certain scope 3 emission in order to incentivize their emission reduction. अब ये कैसे होता है? Just to explain little bit. आपने पूछा हुआ है बिगनिंग में, फिर भी रिपीट कर रहा हूँ, people who are new to this session. वो क्या करते हैं, हर एक डिपार्टमेंट पे वो लोग कैप ट्रेड लगा दिए, कैप एंड ट्रेड मैकेनिज्म। मतलब क्या, आपका डिपार्टमेंट लास्ट ईयर कितना कार्बन इमिशन किया था, तो इतना किया था। इस ईयर आपको कितना करना चाहिए नेट जीरो, अगर मुझे 2030 में अचीव करना है तो इतना करना है, नेट कैप विच गोज डाउन। इफ यू आर स्टिल बिकॉज ऑफ एनी रीजन इज एक्सीडिंग दैट लिमिट, रीजन जनरली क्या होगा, ग्रोथ या इनएफिशिएंसी। ओनली 2 रीजन होगा ना कि यू कुड नॉट रीच योर कैप टारगेट। लास्ट ईयर आपने 10 मोबाइल फोन बेचे, आपने इमिशन करा 100 मेट्रिक टन का। इस ईयर यू माइट बी सेलिंग 12 मोबाइल फोन अकॉर्डिंग टू द ग्रोथ ट्राजेक्टरी। ऐसे कार्बन अकाउंटिंग में वो सब लेते हैं। अभी जब आपका प्रेजेंटेशन होगा तो यू हैव टू कंसीडर दैट पार्ट एज वेल, बिजनेस एज यूजुअल केस। लिख लीजिए एवरीबॉडी, एवरीवन, when you will do presentation, the final presentation, and you are planning for carbon reduction throughout the value chain, you will be considering a baseline plus business as usual growth. ये वर्ड लिख लीजिएगा। अगर आपको नहीं मालूम है तो सर्च कीजिएगा। इफ स्टिल यू आर नॉट कन्विंस्ड एंड कंफ्यूज्ड, यू कैन आस्क मी टुमारो और डे आफ्टर, बिकॉज टुमारो इज योर प्रिपरेटरी डे, राइट? अगर आपको डे आफ्टर टुमारो प्रेजेंटेशन करना है, सो टुमारो इफ यू आर अनेबल टू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज बिजनेस एज यूजुअल ग्रोथ, ask, right? So every industry, every company has their business as usual growth. So 10 ton carbon dioxide or 100 ton carbon dioxide, department X has or geography X has produced last year. So when we do budgeting for finance, we also do budgeting for carbon capping. कोई कंफ्यूजन है इसमें? आप सब आदमी कॉर्पोरेट में काम करे हो, यू नो दिस मच, राइट? कि बजटिंग होती है हर एक साल में, और जैसे बजटिंग होती है फाइनेंस के लिए, सेम वे यू हैव टू डू फॉर नॉन फाइनेंशियल मैट्रिक्स विच इज योर कार्बन इमिशन. So you have done last year 100 metric ton. This year your target will be 90. But problem will be your baseline is 100 or baseline might be 120 and you want to achieve 20, 30, 0. Every year you have to reduce something, but your revenue is going to increase, right? So some department might find it difficult to reduce their carbon emission because they are forced to make more sales. If they are doing that, allowed. कैप एंड अलाउंस में अलाउड है, राइट? कोई पीपल थोड़ा इमिट ज्यादा करेंगे, लेकिन पेनाल्टी है। पेनाल्टी क्या है कि आपको $15 के बेसिस पे बाई करना है। दैट्स व्हाई माइक्रोसॉफ्ट कम्स टू इंडिया इन कर्नाटका and buys from these farmers 10 rupees, 2 to 15 rupees का है मार्केट में, वॉलंटरी मार्केट में इंडिया का रेट अभी 2 to 15 चलता है डॉलर पर कार्बन क्रेडिट और पर टन ऑफ द कार्बन क्रेडिट. हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू आर अवेयर अबाउट दिस सिनेरियो करंटली? नहीं पढ़े हो आपने माइक्रोसॉफ्ट का रिपोर्ट, नो प्रॉब्लम, बट आर यू अवेयर अबाउट दिस दैट इंडिया में सबसे लोएस्ट वॉलंटरी कार्बन मार्केट है? मतलब सबसे लोएस्ट नहीं है,
Yes.
वी आर
Yes. Lowest.
या 2 to 15 के आसपास चलता है. तो उन्होंने क्या करा है, 15 अपना इंटरनल डिपार्टमेंट का ट्रेड करा है, एंड देन somebody will go to India, somebody will go to Sudan, somebody will go to China and buy those carbon credit, bring it and compensate against it. So public के पास स्टिक है, आप ग्रोथ करो, नो प्रॉब्लम, बिजनेस एज यूजुअल से ज्यादा ग्रोथ करो. डेटा सेंटर उनका ज्यादा ग्रोथ कर रहा है, वी हैव सीन दैट इन द डे वन. They are allowed, but in that case they have to buy internally, and then somebody will be buying eventually from outside if they don't have their own self, because massive growth हो रहा है Microsoft में, then they go even outside and buy it. So they have evolved this system pricing model over a period of time since
So
Cohort.
that purchase should be low.
हाँ, of course that is the mechanics, right? अब ज्यादा भी होगा तो चलेगा ना, कंपनी इतनी बड़ी है, they might have some deficit as well. Next year they will compensate. They will say okay अब 15 रुपए नहीं अब 20 रुपए होगा. क्यों? क्योंकि लास्ट ईयर हमने 17 रुपए पे बाई किया है. But I'm just telling you, internally incentivize कर सकते हो आप डिपार्टमेंट को by putting such kind of metrics. And that was important for me to explain that how other companies, specifically company of such a stature, is able to maintain it. And these are their statistics, which is in front of you. 1.5 initiative. Occidental Petroleum is also doing something like that. BTG Pactual Timberland is doing something like that. Yeah, who wants to support the long-term removal goals. So it's not only Microsoft, but even carbon credit purchases, internal mechanism, outside mechanism is also happening with large companies like Occidental Petroleum, 1.5, etc., etc. Clear? So this was one of those things which I wanted everybody to know. We will stop here today, or you want me to complete everything just now? And we will have one revision session and a session on how to create credible reports, right? Credible reports. How to create credible report based on the input you generate. And one session we will have on DEFRA. So there are 2 sessions which we'll have. Then can we have a session? No, we can't have it. So Friday only we have to have an exam, right? Where we are expecting a... So क्या करेंगे? Friday को afternoon में can we have a session?
No problem.
Subodh ji is fine. Ravindran. Afternoon में, say around 12.
4 o'clock.
12, 1
नहीं,
नहीं, evening में
11:30 or 12. Okay.
Yeah.
6 o'clock is okay.
Evening में 7 o'clock we will have the presentation started. Okay, everybody.
When we are going to have a presentation on what?
You will get it everything, Rajni. Don't worry. It's a final exam. Yeah, it's a final exam. We will send you a case which you have to solve end to end.
Yeah.
And do a presentation which will be going tomorrow itself, morning. सबके पास आ जाएगा. ठीक है?
अलग-अलग सबके पास आएगा सर?
अलग-अलग ही भेजेंगे, आप लोग मिक्स करके मत कर लेना, नहीं तो सबका मिक्स आ जाएगा.
हम लोग बात नहीं करते ज्यादा एक दूसरे से, बच्चे
नहीं करोगे तो भी फर्क नहीं पड़ता. बट पॉइंट ये है कि ऑनेस्टली आपको करना चाहिए, बिकॉज इफ यू विल मेक मिस्टेक समबडी विल गिव यू द इनपुट. सो लर्निंग उस दिन 10x होती है. ठीक है. सो माय पॉइंट हियर इज कि सबको इंडिपेंडेंटली वो केस स्टडी सॉल्व
तो उस दिन प्रेजेंटेशन में कितना टाइम जाएगा सर?
2 घंटे
Friday
जाते
को
हैं. लास्ट टाइम 2 घंटे गए हैं हमारे. हमें चाहिए कि सब आदमी 10 मिनट में कर दे, बट होता
और
है.
एग्जाम में कितना टाइम जाएगा? 1 घंटा.
1 घंटा एग्जाम के लिए 1 घंटा जाएगा. सो 3 घंटे का
7 से 10.
हाँ, 7 से
3
10
घंटे का प्लान.
Friday.
So that's why we should plan accordingly.
And plus, I am asking for a 1 hour extra session on Friday around
11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, any time is okay.
जो भी अग्री करेंगे सब आदमी, 1 घंटे का उस दिन.
Any time is okay with me.
Right?
11, 11:30, 12 कभी भी.
After 11:30. After 11:30.
I am in for any time.
Okay, fair.
सुबह 6 बजे से लेकर रात को 11 बजे तक.
Thank you. Thank you. So everybody, Raja ji, are you okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, he is fine. Friday 11:30.
Fine.
Ask Mahima and other.
Mahima has a trouble.
Ravindran, sir.
Crying already.
Fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
So somebody will have some trouble. We can't help everybody. We can't make it for everybody
Yes.
good. If
Yes.
majority is able to do
So
it,
four people is okay. 4 people out of this
yeah,
5 is okay.
yeah, I'm okay with that. Rest of them has to comply with it. Otherwise, anyway, their certificate will be delayed. Point here is that 1 hour we are going to cover how to create credible report and how to read DEFRA. So whoever has not seen DEFRA or CEA, I will be showing them and taking them through. Yeah, quick session. So that is how.
सर वो वीडियो भेजा था आपने, that we have gone.
Video नहीं, कोई बात नहीं है. Video is gone, no problem. We will create that new video because still a lot of people
Okay.
have confusion. So
Okay, it is okay with no problem.
So that is why we need 1 hour extra on Friday morning. And
But sir, then exam presentation में that will be useful.
presentation में क्या है मैं बता देता हूँ. Means of course it is going on record, so everybody will get it equally. It's very simple presentation. There will be a 6, 7, 9 page case study. So you have to prepare a presentation, finding out that calculation and creating a net zero plan for a company. It's as simple as that. And it's not a rocket science. I have already given you the guideline in the question itself, what all you need to present. But you can be creative based on your presentation and experience. Clear? Net zero plan banana hai company ke liye.
Can you
Sir,
come
कल
back
दे देना
again?
तो we'll get time, enough time.
Can you come back again? What is the
So
format
the
basically?
case study is on ESGPro manufacturing company, which wants to go to net zero plan. They want to decide to reach to net zero plan. Now you know how to first create a baseline. You have to do the baselining. So what is baselining? You have to calculate a scope 1, 2, and 3. We will give you enough data so you can calculate that. Once you have calculated it, then you will plan that how you will put GHG mitigation system. In the mitigation system, once you will put that these are my strategy to control these activity emission, you have to decide that what are the mitigation action plan you will be putting for next 5 year, 10 year, whatever timeline you are taking for going net zero, it's your choice. But you have to tell us that what is that method and put a rationale. People who put rationale get better appreciation in the group discussion.
Without rationale, so you can put CCUS and competitive thing.
कुछ भी करिए आप, वो आपका चॉइस है. वो CCUS
नहीं,
लोग
that is
आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछेंगे. सुबोध जी ये
and
भी
that is irrational.
नहीं, और सुबोध जी ये भी ध्यान रखिएगा, उस दिन all 10 people will ask question from other guy. Okay? Why? There are 2 reasons. So your learning becomes 10x. फिर आपको 10 आदमी का फीडबैक मिलता है तो आपका 10 टाइम का लर्निंग होता है. दूसरा, हर एक आदमी इंडिपेंडेंट अपना प्रिपेयर करता है तो सबका रिजल्ट अलग आता है. ओके, सबका अलग अलग प्लान आते हैं. दैट इज व्हाट इज द बेस्ट पार्ट ऑफ इट, दैट यू विल फाइंड somebody CCUS and somebody will say it's useless. He can say that based on his creativity, right? And that is why that day learning will be 10x. So
but he has to justify why he's saying useless.
Of course, नहीं justify करोगे तो सामने वाला पूछेगा ना क्या बकवास कर रहे हो सर आप. Of course, politely ही पूछते हैं, हम लोग बहुत प्रोफेशनल है. But the learning happens. Immediately you will say, okay, this is my gap. So next time, when you will be speaking, you won't believe. When you are speaking, no, you your own self will say, okay, previous guy ने ये बोला था, तो मैंने ये क्यों नहीं किया, वो बताता हूँ पहले. बहुत अच्छी लर्निंग होती है. Come that day and you will see that miracle will happen. Your learning will be really great. That आपको जो मालूम वो सब्जेक्ट आपको मालूम चल जाएगा उस दिन.
Out of this class, tomorrow's class में एग्जाम किसका है सर?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
कल अपना एग्जाम है ना ESG
वो डायमंड मेंबर्स का है ना, वो आप कंफ्यूज मत
हाँ वही
तो
उसमें किसका है? वो किसका है?
सुबोध जी, यू आर आस्किंग इन रॉन्ग फॉरम. यू विल कंफ्यूज अदर्स नाउ. आप मेरे को मैसेज करो ना, या डायमंड ग्रुप में मैसेज करो. वी विल एक्सप्लेन यू देयर. यू आर नॉट एबल टू से. इफ यू विल आस्क इन दिस ग्रुप, एवरीबॉडी विल. परेश जी पिछली बार 25 क्वेश्चन पूछे हैं बिकॉज ही इज गेटिंग कंफ्यूज क्या चल रहा है, राइट? अदर पीपल विल नॉट अंडरस्टैंड दैट. वो डायमंड मेंबरशिप का है, उसमें ऑलरेडी लिखा जा चुका है. रजनी जी को अवेयर है, 3 चैप्टर का एग्जाम है. ठीक है, बट लेट्स नॉट डिस्कस दैट, यू विल कंफ्यूज अदर.
ओके.
थैंक यू.
So tomorrow we have class for
So tomorrow we don't have a class.
No class.
Tomorrow
okay, break for preparation to the
preparation for that presentation. आपको presentation बना के लाना है on a complete end-to-end GHG accounting and GHG mitigation. उसमें आप कार्बन क्रेडिट वगैरह भी यूज कर सकते हो if you want. CCUS यूज कर सकते हो if you want. Whatever is your choice. We will give you the case study early morning or today night itself. So you will have enough time to prepare it. Okay. With that, we have come to end of the session. Thank you very much and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.